The bright morning sun shone through the windows of the United Nations headquarters in New York City. People rushed through the hallways with worried faces. Something big was happening. Dr. Olivia Martinez walked quickly, holding her tablet tight against her chest. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her blue suit was perfectly pressed. As the lead communications expert for the UN, she had been called in early that morning. Very early. Dr. Martinez, a voice called from behind. Wait up. She turned to see Admiral John Russell jogging to catch up with her. His uniform was decorated with medals and ribbons showing his years of service. His gray hair was cut short and his face looked serious. "Admiral," she said with a nod. "I guess you got the same urgent call." "Yes," he said, though they didn't tell me much, just that I needed to get here right away. They walked together toward the main conference room. Security guards stood at every corner, checking badges and watching everyone carefully. "Something big is happening," Olivia said quietly. "I've never seen security this tight." When they reached the conference room, they found it already filled with important people. World leaders joined by video call on large screens. Military officials from many countries sat around the table. Scientists huddled in small groups, talking in low voices. Secretary General William Clark stood at the front of the room. When he saw Olivia and John enter, he waved them over. "Dr. Martinez, Admiral Russell, thank you for coming so quickly," he said. His voice sounded tired, like he hadn't slept. "We need your expertise." "What's going on, sir?" John asked. William pointed to a large screen on the wall. "That's going on." The screen showed a view from space. Among the stars hung a massive object. It was shaped like a smooth oval, metallic and shining in the sunlight. It was enormous, at least a mile long. "What am I looking at?" Olivia asked, though she already knew. Everyone in the room knew. "A ship," William said simply. "Not one of ours." The room fell silent. "It appeared in orbit 3 hours ago." William continued. "It's not doing anything, just sitting there. We've tried hailing it on all frequencies, nothing yet." Olivia stared at the screen. "Has there been any aggression? Any weapons?" "No," one of the military officials said. "It's just waiting." As if on cue, Olivia's tablet beeped loudly. She looked down at it, confused. Then it beeped again, a specific pattern. That's coming through on the deep space frequency," she said, her fingers moving quickly across the screen. "We use that for communication with our farthest satellites, but this signal is much stronger." Everyone in the room turned to watch her work. "It's a message," she said after a moment. I think they're trying to talk to us." William looked at her. "Can you answer?" Olivia nodded slowly. "I can try to establish two-way communication." "Do it," he ordered. She connected her tablet to the main system. The room watched as she sent a simple greeting message using basic mathematical sequences that any advanced civilization should understand. Almost immediately, the response came. "They're sending back a complex data packet," Olivia said, her eyes wide. "It contains translation software. They're giving us a way to communicate." With trembling fingers, she installed the program. A soft, melodic voice filled the room. "People of Earth, we come in peace. We are the guardians, travelers from a distant star. We have journeyed far to reach you with urgent purpose. We wish to speak with your leaders." William stepped forward. "This is Secretary General William Clark of the United Nations. I represent Earth's countries. Why have you come here?" There was a pause before the voice answered. "We have come to protect you." John frowned. "Protect us from what?" Another pause. "There are dangers in the galaxy you do not yet understand. Your world is in peril. We offer our protection and guidance." The room erupted in whispered conversations. William raised his hand for quiet. "We appreciate your concern," he said carefully. "But we would like to know more about these dangers before we accept your help." "Of course," the voice replied. "We invite a delegation to visit our vessel. We can explain everything in person." William looked at Olivia and John. What do you think? It could be a trap, John said immediately. Or it could be first contact with a benevolent species, Olivia countered. We should at least hear them out. After much debate, a small delegation was chosen. Olivia would go as the communications expert. John would represent Earth's military interests. 3 other officials, including a scientist, a diplomat, and a security officer, would join them. 6 hours later, they boarded a special shuttle that would take them up to the alien ship. Olivia sat nervously, looking out the window as Earth grew smaller below them. The giant alien vessel grew larger ahead. I don't like this, John muttered beside her. They show up out of nowhere claiming we need protection? From what? We haven't seen any threats. Maybe they know something we don't, Olivia suggested. That's what worries me, John replied. The shuttle approached the massive ship. A section of the smooth hull slid open, revealing a docking area inside. Their pilot guided the shuttle carefully, and when the doors opened, they found themselves in a large, bright room. The walls glowed with a soft light. The air smelled clean, like a forest after rain. Standing before them was a being unlike anything they had ever seen. It was roughly human-shaped but made of what looked like translucent crystal. Light moved through its body in patterns, and it stood nearly 7 feet tall. Welcome, it said, its voice the same as the one they had heard earlier. I am Zoran, ambassador of the Guardians. We are honored by your visit. Olivia stepped forward. Thank you for inviting us. We have many questions. And we have answers, Zoran replied, gesturing for them to follow. Please come this way. They were led through corridors of the ship, seeing strange technology and, occasionally, other crystal beings working at stations. Finally, they reached a large room with a window showing Earth below. Beautiful, isn't it? Zoran said, looking at their planet. We have seen many worlds, but yours is special. You said we need protection, John said firmly. From what exactly? Zoran turned to face them. There is a force spreading through the galaxy. We call them the Void Hegemony. They consume worlds and resources without mercy. They have destroyed many civilizations. And they're coming here? Olivia asked. Eventually, Zoran said. Their expansion is slow but relentless. We have made it our mission to find promising species and help them prepare. How do you know Earth is in danger? John pressed. Have you seen these Void Hegemony ships near our solar system? Zoran seemed to flicker slightly. Not yet, but our sensors detect their influence spreading in this direction. We have seen the pattern before. John and Olivia exchanged glances. Something felt off. Back on Earth, in a small observatory in Chile, astronomer Nick Peterson stared at his computer screen with confusion. He had been tracking unusual energy readings at the edge of the solar system for weeks. Now, with the arrival of the Guardian ship, he noticed something strange. The energy signatures didn't match the Guardian technology, and whenever his equipment detected these anomalies, the Guardian ship seemed to shift position slightly, as if trying to block Earth's view of that area of space. What are they hiding? Nick whispered to himself, quickly saving the data to a secure drive. Something told him this information might be important. As the Earth delegation prepared to return home with the Guardian's offer of protection, both Olivia and John felt uneasy. The Guardians were polite and seemed sincere, but their answers about the threat were vague. If they're here to protect us, John said quietly to Olivia as they boarded the shuttle, why won't they tell us exactly what we need protection from? Olivia watched Zoran wave goodbye. I don't know, but I intend to find out. 6 months had passed since the Guardians arrived. Their massive ships now formed a ring around Earth, visible in the night sky like new stars. The Guardians called them defense platforms, but many people on Earth had other names for them. Dr. Olivia Martinez looked out the window of her new office at the United Nations. As Earth's primary liaison to the aliens, she had been given special quarters with a view of the sky. She could see one of the Guardian ships from here, glittering in the sunlight. Her phone rang. It was Admiral John Russell. We need to talk, he said, his voice low. Not over the phone. Can you meet me at the usual place in an hour? I'll be there, she replied. The usual place was a small coffee shop 6 blocks from the UN building. It had become their meeting spot when they needed to speak privately. The owner was an old friend of John's who kept the back room free of listening devices. When Olivia arrived, John was already there with Nick Peterson, the astronomer whose work had caught their attention months ago. Nick looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. "Dr. Martinez," Nick nodded as she sat down. "Thank you for coming." "What's going on?" she asked. John slid a tablet across the table. "Nick has been working for me off the record. Show her what you found." Nick tapped the screen, bringing up a series of charts and images. "I've been tracking those energy signatures I detected when the Guardians first arrived. They're still there at the edge of our solar system. But there's something else now." He zoomed in on one image. "These are communications being sent from Guardian ships. They think we can't detect them, but I modified some old SETI equipment to pick up traces." "What are they saying?" Olivia asked. "I can't translate most of it, but I picked up some patterns. They keep referring to something called Phase 2, and they mention resource extraction a lot." Olivia frowned. "Resource extraction? They never mentioned anything about taking resources from Earth." "Exactly," John said. "And there's more. My team has been analyzing their defense platforms. The weapon systems aren't just pointed outward to protect us from this supposed void hegemony. Many of them are aimed directly at our major cities." Olivia felt cold. Over the past 6 months, she had spent a lot of time with Zoran. The Guardian ambassador had been friendly, even warm. They had shared stories about their cultures. She had started to trust the crystalline being. "Maybe it's just a precaution," she suggested, not fully believing it herself. "A precaution against what? Us?" John shook his head. "Something doesn't add up. They claim they're here to protect us from an enemy no one has seen any evidence of." Nick leaned forward. "There's one more thing. Those energy signatures I've been tracking, they're moving closer. Whatever it is, it's watching both us and the Guardians, and the Guardians know it." Back in Washington, Senator Patricia Alvarez was building support for her position on the Guardian situation. As head of the newly formed Committee on Extraterrestrial Affairs, she had gained a powerful voice. "They arrived unannounced," she said to a packed Senate chamber. "They built weapons platforms around our planet. They claim to protect us from a threat they can't prove exists. And we're just accepting this?" Her words were being broadcast worldwide. In homes and public squares, people watched and listened. "They promised to protect Earth," she continued, her voice rising. "But protect us from who? So far, the only aliens in our skies are them." The chamber erupted in applause. The next day, Olivia was called to meet with Zoran aboard the main Guardian vessel. She found the ambassador in what they called the viewing room, a large space with a clear floor showing Earth below. "Your Senator Alvarez makes compelling arguments," Zoran said without turning around. "She is very persuasive. She speaks for many people who have questions," Olivia replied carefully. "Questions I share." Zoran turned, the light patterns within the crystalline body moving faster than usual. "You doubt our intentions? I want to believe you came to help us, but you must understand how this looks from our perspective. You've built weapons platforms around our planet. You talk about a threat you won't fully explain. And now we've detected your communications about resource extraction and something called Phase 2. Zoran went very still. "You've been monitoring our communications?" "Just as you've been monitoring ours," Olivia countered. "We're not as primitive as you might think." After a long silence, Zoran spoke again. "The void hegemony is real, Dr. Martinez. They destroyed our homeworld. We are all that remains of our species. Then why not just tell us that from the beginning? Why the secrecy?" "Because fear makes species do terrible things. We've seen it before. If we came as refugees, would you have welcomed us or feared us? This way we can help each other." Olivia wasn't sure she believed the explanation. "And the weapons pointed at Earth?" "A standard security protocol," Zoran said quickly. "Nothing more." But Olivia noticed something. As Zoran spoke, the light patterns in the crystalline body flickered in a way she had come to recognize as anxiety or deception. The Guardian was lying. Meanwhile, Admiral Russell was leading a team of scientists in a secure underground facility. They had been studying Guardian technology from pieces they had managed to salvage or secretly acquire. If they decide to turn those weapons on us, we need a defense, he told his team. Something they won't expect. One of the scientists, Dr. Samantha Reed, looked up from her work. I think we've found something. Their crystalline technology has a weakness. It reacts poorly to specific sound frequencies. If we can generate a strong enough pulse at exactly the right frequency, we might be able to disrupt their systems temporarily, John nodded. Good work. Keep developing it, but with absolute secrecy. If the Guardians find out what we're doing, he didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood the stakes. In Chile, Nick Peterson was now working from a hidden location. His small observatory had been accidentally destroyed in a fire 3 days after his meeting with Olivia and John. He had barely escaped with his equipment and data, now using a powerful radio telescope temporarily borrowed from a nearby university. He had made a breakthrough. The energy signatures at the edge of the solar system weren't random. They were a form of communication. With trembling hands, he sent a simple message in the same pattern. A universal greeting using prime numbers and basic mathematical constants. He wasn't prepared for what happened next. His screen lit up with a response, complex but clearly artificial. Not Guardian technology, but something else entirely. Hello, human, the message read once his computer finished the translation. We are the collective we have been watching. We need to talk about your Guardian friends. They are not what they claim to be. Nick stared at the screen, his heart pounding. Then he reached for his secure phone to call Admiral Russell. This changed everything. The old Arctic research station had been abandoned for years. Its gray walls were covered with ice and the wind howled around its metal frame. But today, it was not empty. 4 people sat around a table inside the main building. Dr. Olivia Martinez rubbed her hands together for warmth. Admiral John Russell paced back and forth. Senator Patricia Alvarez sipped hot coffee from a metal cup. Nick Peterson worked on setting up some equipment. Are you sure this place is secure? Senator Alvarez asked, looking at the frost-covered windows. As secure as we can make it, Admiral Russell replied. No Guardian technology can see through these walls. We've checked for bugs 3 times. If there's anywhere on Earth we can have this meeting in private, it's here. Nick looked up from his work. It's ready. The message said they would contact us at exactly 3 p.m. They all checked their watches. 2 minutes to go. I still can't believe we're doing this, Olivia said quietly. Meeting with another alien species behind the backs of the first aliens we met. We need answers, John said firmly. The Guardians haven't been honest with us. Maybe these collective beings will be. At exactly 3 p.m., Nick's equipment hummed to life. A beam of light shot up from the center of the table, forming into a shape. It looked like a cloud of small, glowing dots arranged in the rough form of a person. Greetings, humans, the figure said, its voice surprisingly warm and natural. I am Meridian, representative of the collective. Thank you for agreeing to meet. Thank you for contacting us, Nick replied. He had been the one exchanging messages with the collective over the past week setting up this meeting. Why all the secrecy? Admiral Russell asked. Why not just contact Earth openly, like the Guardians did? The glowing figure seemed to shimmer. The Guardians monitor all communication to and from your planet. They would have interfered had we approached you openly. Who exactly are you? Senator Alvarez asked. And who are the Guardians, really? The collective is an alliance of species from across the galaxy. We observe, we learn, we share knowledge. As for the Guardians, the figure paused. They are not what they claim to be. What do you mean? Olivia leaned forward. The Guardians are refugees, that much is true. But they are not protectors. They are survivors who have developed a pattern of behavior to ensure their continued existence. The holographic figure waved a hand and images appeared in the air. Different planets, different species, but the same scenario playing out over and over. Their pattern is consistent, Meridian continued. They identify promising worlds with developing species. They arrive offering protection from a made-up threat. They establish defense platforms, then gradually they take control of resources, and eventually the planet itself. The void hegemony doesn't exist? Admiral Russell asked, his face hard. It's a story they've created, a bogeyman to justify their presence. We've been tracking them across 3 galactic sectors as they repeat this pattern. Olivia felt sick. She had spent months working with Zoran, believing they were building trust between their species. Why? She asked. Why go through all this? Deception? Their homeworld was destroyed not by some hegemony, but by natural disaster. A dying star. They were unprepared, had nowhere to go. Now they're determined never to be homeless again. They find worlds, gain trust through protection, then slowly take over as the host species becomes dependent on their technology. Senator Alvarez slammed her fist on the table. This is exactly what I've been warning about. They're not protectors. They're invaders with a long-term plan. If this is true, Admiral Russell said, why haven't you stopped them? You clearly have advanced technology. Why just watch as they take over worlds? Meridian's glow dimmed slightly. The collective follows a strict policy of non-interference. We provide information, but what species do with that knowledge is their choice. We believe in self-determination. Nick looked skeptical. So you just watch as they conquer planets? We observe. We learn. We share what we know with those who might be able to use the information. Like you. The figure gestured at the humans around the table. You are the first species to detect our presence and reach out to us. You are the first to question the Guardians so quickly. What exactly are they planning for Earth? Olivia asked. Based on their past patterns, they will continue to build more defense platforms. They will offer more technology, making you dependent on them. Then when their main fleet arrives, main fleet? Admiral Russell interrupted. What main fleet? The ships in your orbit are just the advance party. Their main fleet carries millions of their kind, looking for a new home. They plan to settle on Earth, gradually pushing humans into smaller and smaller territories. The 4 humans exchanged worried glances. When will this fleet arrive? Senator Alvarez asked. Based on our observations, within 3 months. Admiral Russell stood up straight. Then we don't have much time. We need to prepare. What can we do against their technology? Nick asked. They're so much more advanced than we are. Perhaps not as much as you think, Meridian replied. We can provide information about their weaknesses. The rest will be up to you. The holographic figure waved its hand again and detailed schematics appeared in the air. Their crystalline bodies and technology are vulnerable to specific sound frequencies, as you've already discovered. They also cannot function well in high humidity environments. And their defense platforms have a central control node that, if disrupted, would temporarily disable their entire network. Admiral Russell studied the schematics carefully. This could work. We could develop weapons based on this information. But we should try diplomacy first, Olivia insisted. Confront them with what we know. Give them a chance to negotiate honestly. Senator Alvarez nodded. I agree. We show strength but offer peace if they're willing to be honest about their intentions. As they continued discussing plans, a red light began flashing on Nick's equipment. What's that? John asked sharply. Nick's face went pale as he checked the readings. We've got company. Guardian ships are approaching this location fast. Meridian's form flickered. I must go. Remember what I've shared. The choice of how to proceed is yours. The hologram disappeared just as the building shook from the sound of ships overhead. How did they find us? Senator Alvarez asked, her voice tight with fear. Someone must have talked, Admiral Russell said grimly, pulling out a small pistol. Or we were followed. Olivia moved to the window and peered out. 3 small Guardian ships had landed outside. Crystal beings were emerging, moving toward the U building. What do we do now? She asked. Admiral Russell checked his gun. We stick to the plan, but first we need to get out of here alive. Nick was quickly packing up his equipment. There's a snowcat in the garage. If we can reach it. The door to the research station burst open. Cold air rushed in, followed by the tall, glowing form of Zoran. "Dr. Martinez," the Guardian said, the lights within its crystal body pulsing rapidly. "I'm disappointed. We trusted you." Olivia stood tall, facing the alien she had worked with for months. "Trust goes both ways, Zoran. You should have been honest with us from the start." "I don't know what you think you've learned," Zoran said, moving further into the room, "but I can assure you our only desire is to protect Earth." "From who?" Admiral Russell asked, stepping forward. "The Void Hegemony? We know they don't exist." Zoran went very still. "You've been misled." "No," Olivia said firmly. "We've finally been told the truth. Your fleet is coming. You don't want to protect us. You want to take our world." For a long moment, no one moved. Then Zoran raised a crystalline arm. "I'm sorry it has come to this." The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Zoran stood with arm raised, light pulsing through its crystalline body. Admiral Russell aimed his pistol at the alien. Dr. Martinez, Senator Alvarez, and Nick Peterson were frozen, in place, waiting to see what would happen next. Then, unexpectedly, Zoran lowered its arm. "You don't understand," the Guardian said, its voice softer than before. "It's more complicated than you think." "Then explain it," Olivia said. "No more lies." Zoran seemed to sigh, though the sound was more like crystals tinkling together. "Yes, we need your world. Ours was destroyed. But we can live together peacefully. We would never harm humans." "But you lied about why you came here," John said, keeping his gun pointed at Zoran. "You invented a fake enemy to trick us. Would you have welcomed us if we came as refugees begging for shelter?" Zoran asked, the lights in its body dimming. "Other planets that rejected us before left us no choice but to take this approach. That doesn't justify lying," Senator Alvarez said firmly. "Perhaps not," Zoran admitted, "but we are desperate. Our main fleet carries the last of our kind. Millions of us with nowhere to go. We need a home." "So you decided to take ours," John said. "To share yours," Zoran corrected. "Earth is large enough for both our species." Outside the research station, more Guardian ships were landing. They were running out of time. "We need to leave," Nick whispered. "Now." John nodded, then addressed Zoran again. "We're going to walk out of here. Tell your people not to stop us." "I can't do that," Zoran said. "Not now that you've spoken with the collective. They've poisoned your minds against us." "They told us the truth," Olivia countered. "Something you should have done from the beginning." "The collective has its own agenda," Zoran warned. "They watch, they observe, but they never help. What have they offered you besides information? Will they defend you if needed?" "No. We at least offered protection." "Protection we never needed," John said. As they argued, Nick had quietly moved to a small device in his bag. He pressed a button, and suddenly a high-pitched sound filled the room. Zoran's body seemed to vibrate, the crystal structure trembling. "Run," Nick shouted. "This will hold them for a minute, but that's all." The four humans rushed past the disoriented Guardian and out the back door of the research station. The bitter cold hit them immediately, but they pushed forward through the snow toward the garage. Behind them, they could hear the crystal beings making strange sounds of distress as the sonic device continued to affect them. They reached the Snowcat, an old but sturdy vehicle designed for Arctic conditions. John jumped into the driver's seat while the others piled in. The engine roared to life and they crashed through the garage door, heading away from the station across the snowy landscape. "They'll follow us," Nick said, looking back at the Guardian. "Ships." "Not immediately," John replied. "That sonic device should give us a head start. We need to reach the submarine waiting at the extraction point." As they sped across the ice, Olivia looked at the information Meridian had shared, now downloaded to her tablet. According to this, the Guardian Defense Network has a central control node. If we can disable it, even temporarily, we could gain the upper hand. "But how do we get to it?" Senator Alvarez asked. "It's probably on their main ship in orbit." "Actually," Olivia said, studying the schematics, "it looks like it's in their primary ground base, the one they built in the Australian outback." John nodded. That's easier to reach than orbit, if we can get there and disable it. But we still need a plan for when their main fleet arrives, Nick reminded them. Disabling their current network won't stop millions of new arrivals. One thing at a time, John said grimly. First, let's get off this ice alive. They reached the coast and found the small submarine as planned. As they descended below the waves, they watched Guardian ships flying overhead, searching for them. 2 days later, key leaders from around the world gathered in a secure underground facility beneath Geneva. Admiral Russell stood at the front of the room, explaining what they had learned and the plan they had developed. The Guardians are not protectors, he explained. They're refugees looking for a new home, but instead of asking, they're taking. Murmurs filled the room as world leaders discussed this revelation. Their main fleet will arrive in less than 3 months, John continued. Millions of their kind. If we don't act now, we'll lose our planet piece by piece. What can we do against their technology? The president of India asked. More than you might think, Dr. Martinez stepped forward. Thanks to information from the collective, we've identified weaknesses in Guardian technology. Dr. Reed and her team have developed weapons based on these weaknesses. Dr. Samantha Reed approached with several devices. These emit the specific sound frequencies that disrupt their crystalline structure. We've also developed humidity bombs that can temporarily incapacitate them. And most importantly, we've created a device that can disable their entire defense network. But we need to get to their primary ground base in Australia to use it, John added. This is madness, the British Prime Minister objected. We should negotiate. They offered to share the planet, after lying to us from the start, Senator Alvarez countered. How can we trust anything they say now? The debate continued for hours. Eventually they reached a decision. They would prepare for conflict while also attempting one last diplomatic effort. Olivia volunteered to meet with Zoran one more time. Despite everything, she had spent months working with the Guardian and felt she might be able to reach some understanding. The meeting was set for neutral ground, a small island in the Pacific. Olivia arrived by helicopter, finding Zoran already waiting on the beach. Dr. Martinez, the Guardian greeted her. I'm glad you agreed to meet. I wanted to give diplomacy one last chance, she replied. We know about your fleet. We know your real intentions. Zoran's lights pulsed slowly. Then, you know we need a home. Is sharing your world so terrible? It's the deception that's the problem. You came as conquerors disguised as protectors. How can we trust you now? What would you have us do? Zoran asked. Leave. We have nowhere else to go. Be honest. Tell your people to come in peace, not with weapons. Maybe there's a solution, where both our species can coexist, but it has to be based on truth. Zoran was silent for a long moment. I will speak with our leaders, but I must warn you, some among us will not agree to come unarmed. We have faced rejection before. As they talked, neither noticed the small drone watching from above, transmitting their conversation to multiple parties. In his hidden laboratory, Nick Peterson watched the feed alongside another screen showing approaching energy signatures. They're coming, he whispered to himself. The Guardian fleet is arriving early. He grabbed his secure phone to warn Admiral Russell. The timeline had accelerated. Whatever plan they had, they needed to act now. The sky above Earth looked different today. Thousands of new lights had appeared overnight, visible even in daylight. The Guardian main fleet had arrived 3 weeks early, catching everyone by surprise. In the underground command center, Admiral John Russell watched the screens with a grim face. Beside him, Nick Peterson worked frantically at his computer. How many? John asked quietly. Over 3,000 ships, Nick replied. Much larger than we expected. The door opened, and Dr. Olivia Martinez rushed in, followed by Senator Patricia Alvarez. Both women looked like they hadn't slept in days. Is it time? Olivia asked. John nodded. We don't have a choice anymore. Their fleet is here. We need to move forward with the plan. On screens around the room, they could see teams of soldiers, preparing. Each carried sonic weapons developed using the collective's information. Scientists made final adjustments to a larger device, the one designed to disable the Guardian defense network. What about your meeting with Zoran? Nick asked Olivia. Any progress? She shook her head. Zoran was willing to talk, but when the fleet arrived early, all communication stopped. I think the fleet commander overruled any peaceful approaches. Then we have no choice, Senator Alvarez said firmly. Operation Soundwave begins now. Around the world, military forces moved into position. The plan had three parts. First, special forces would infiltrate the Guardian ground base in Australia to disable their defense network. Second, pilots would use the temporary gap in defenses to attack key Guardian ships with sonic weapons. Third, Dr. Martinez would lead a diplomatic team to confront the Guardian leadership with evidence of their deception, broadcasting the truth to the entire world. As the operation began, Olivia prepared for her role. She wasn't a soldier, but today she would lead the most important conversation in human history. Are you ready? John asked her. No, she admitted. But I'll do it anyway. He squeezed her shoulder. The world is counting on you. I'm counting on you. In Australia, the Special Forces team approached the Guardian base under cover of darkness. They moved silently across the Red Desert, carrying the device that could change the course of the conflict. Leading them was Dr. Samantha Reed, the scientist, who had developed much of their new technology. Remember, she whispered to the soldiers, once we activate this, we have 30 minutes before their systems recover. Everything needs to happen within that window. Inside the base, crystal beings moved about their duties, unaware of the humans approaching. Their confidence in their superior technology had made them careless. The team reached the outer wall. Using humidity bombs, they created a small gap in the Guardian defenses. Then they slipped inside, moving toward the central control room. When they reached it, Dr. Reed quickly connected their device to the Guardian systems. 10 seconds, she whispered, starting the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She pressed the button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then all around them, Guardian technology began to flicker and shut down. It's working, she said. Send the signal. Across Earth, fighter jets that had been waiting took off, heading for Guardian. Ships suddenly vulnerable without their defensive shields. They fired specially designed missiles that released sonic waves rather than explosions. Guardian ships began to drift, their crews temporarily disabled by the sound frequencies that disrupted their crystalline bodies. In orbit, the largest Guardian vessel, the fleet command ship, also experienced disruption. This was Olivia's moment. A small team of diplomats and soldiers escorted her to a shuttle that would take them to the command ship. Among them was Senator Alvarez, who had insisted on being part of this final confrontation. Remember, the senator told Olivia, we're not looking for surrender. We want honest negotiation. The shuttle docked with the Guardian command ship, which was now drifting without power. They moved through crystal corridors, heading for the command center. The few Guardians they encountered were disoriented, unable to stop them. They reached the command center and found it filled with crystal beings, including one larger than the others, clearly the fleet commander. My name is Dr. Olivia Martinez, she announced. I represent Earth. We need to talk. The fleet commander's lights pulsed weakly. How did you disable our systems? That's not important right now, Olivia replied. What matters is that we know the truth. About why you're really here. About the fake threat you invented, about your plans for our world. As she spoke, Senator Alvarez activated a device that broadcast their conversation to every screen on Earth. Billions of humans watched as their representatives confronted the Guardian leadership. Yes, the fleet commander admitted finally. The void hegemony doesn't exist. We needed your world. We are the last of our kind. You could have asked, Olivia said. Instead, you lied. You built weapons pointed at our cities. You planned to take our world piece by piece. We've done this before, the commander acknowledged. Other species rejected us when we came as refugees. This approach has worked better. Not this time, Senator Alvarez said firmly. Humans don't respond well to deception. Back on Earth, Admiral Russell watched the conversation from the command center. Our forces have control of 7 Guardian defense platforms, an officer reported. We can target their fleet if needed. Hold position, John ordered. Let's see if diplomacy works first. On the Guardian command ship, Olivia continued. Earth can be a home for both our species, but only with honesty and respect. No more lies. No more hidden agendas. Before the fleet commander could respond, alarms began to sound. New ships were appearing in Earth's orbit. Sleek, silver vessels, unlike the crystal ships of the Guardians. The Collective, the Guardian commander said, lights pulsing rapidly. They've never interfered before. A holographic figure appeared in the center of the command room. Meridian, the representative of the Collective. We've been watching, Meridian said. We've seen 100 worlds fall to Guardian manipulation. You are the first to see through their deception and demonstrate both the will and capability to resist. The hologram turned to face Olivia and Senator Alvarez. This is why we reveal ourselves now, not as observers, but as potential allies. You said you have a policy of non-interference, Olivia reminded them. We do, Meridian agreed. But that policy is a test. We watch to see which species are worthy of joining our collective. Those who can defend themselves, who can see through deception, who can show strength but also mercy. These are the species we wish to know. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this revelation. What happens now? The Guardian commander asked. That is for Earth to decide, Meridian replied. We offer humanity membership in the collective. As for the Guardians, your deception has been noted, but your need for a home is real. Perhaps a compromise can be reached. 3 months later, Olivia stood on a viewing platform overlooking the red landscape of Mars. Beside her was Admiral Russell, watching as human and Guardian ships worked together to build the first crystal city on the Martian surface. It's strange to think how close we came to war, she said. John nodded. The Guardians get a new home, just not the one they plan to take, and we get new allies and technology from the collective. So, John said with a wry smile, turns out we didn't need protection after all. Olivia nodded. Maybe that's the lesson here. The most dangerous thing in the universe isn't some alien threat. It's underestimating humanity. In orbit above them, Guardian and human ships worked side by side, while collective vessels maintained a watchful presence. Earth had taken its first steps into a larger galactic community, not as a protected species but as equals who had proven their resourcefulness. And whenever a new alien ship approached Earth, asking if humans needed protection, they always gave the same reply. From who?